Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old, to history, to anecdotes, to really wherever our whims take us. As you can tell, today is Whim City and Wig Life. Sometimes when you're meeting a character, you just want to have their color scheme, for reasons. So, taking a look at some more obscure characters, can't stop, won't stop. Today a look at a fellow green-haired compatriot, Doc Samson. Now the psychologist character can have a lot of potential, but it is also oftentimes squandered. There's so much potential, but then you sometimes end up with, I'm sensing hostility, Captain. It's not her fault. They needed to write it better. Doc Samson is a psychiatrist character, who some may know as the therapist of the Hulk, or the She-Hulk, or Thunderbolt Ross. However, it took him a while to grow into that role, despite always having been a psychiatrist. You'll see. The Samson who first appeared was pretty different from what he would become, although there are some traits that will carry through. He was petty, shallow, and Mr. Steal Your Girl. I bet you really want to meet him now. Well, good, because we're about to. But before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you're enjoying this content, and these wigs, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and now, new feature, hit that join button so you can help support and just come along on this crazy comics journey. We want you here. However you can be here, we want you. For now though, it's time to explore the universe of the Hulk and his supporting characters. Doc Samson first appeared in The Incredible Hulk 141 in 1971 and was created by Roy Thomas and Herb Trimpe. At first he starts off very much as a character of the week. He would find himself used for a few issues, lose his powers, and then get them back years later. It was clear he was sticking around by 1976. So who is he? Well, at the start he didn't really have a backstory. He just appeared. He's just some guy. But what a guy. Get excited. The cover showcases Samson facing off against the Hulk and seemingly winning, which is of course meant to build intrigue and suspense. For who could defeat the Hulk? Hurry up and take my 15 cents? Foolish female. The victory shall belong to Doc Samson. Oh boy, well I'm endeared. I see you sideways trademark non-infringing lightning bolt. Well played. Our story is called His Name is Samson, but we won't see him for a bit. No, instead we open on the Hulk searching for Jarella, who was actually only introduced an issue before, but she would come to be a big deal in the halls of Hulk love interests. Her history is actually really interesting. She was supposed to be just a one-off, but she ended up not only reappearing, but when she was killed, she was brought back because of fan demand. So go Jarella. It gets even more interesting when one learns that her death was actually an accident, an editorial accident. But right now the Hulk is looking for her because she loved him, not for who he was, Bruce Banner, or for who he could be, but for who he is, the Hulk, and that's special. Meanwhile, Betty Ross is slowly turning into Crystal for reasons. Betty is the Hulk's first love interest. This process will prove permanent unless her father can abuse government resources and find a cure. He's gonna get the best, the brightest minds on it. And that's how we get introduced to Doc Samson, who doesn't exactly put his best foot forward. Of course, I realize you place little value in the opinion of a Leonard Samson, psychiatrist, but I place little value on anyone who introduces themselves like that. Oh, I know you place little value on Sasha Wood, YouTuber, but you can't say it without sounding smarmy. It's just oozing out of the pores. He has a plan to cure Betty and the Hulk as well. Okay, so Samson is a 70s scientist, wherein he can do pretty much whatever, but he has a specialty that doesn't mean he uses it necessarily or properly. I am a psychiatrist, but also a nuclear physicist and whatever else I need to be in that moment. So he knows all about gamma radiation, building machines, all of that jazz. But the comic will also always just be like, as a psychiatrist. Also, his ideas here are going to be portrayed as the hardest science, and it's so great, especially because when you're dealing with psychology, sometimes the theories change, get debunked, all kinds of things, but in fiction and media, they're often presented as very much, this is the truth. That still happens. Samson's about to mess with the Hulk's mind and also cure a girl from turning into Crystal with science. Doctor, do you have to be so clinical about a girl's life? Only in that way may I achieve scientific objectivity, Major. Now as I was expostulating. My colleagues and I concur. Ooh, real catch me if you can scientist speak. To cut this endearing pontification short, they need to catch the Hulk, siphon off some of his gamma radiation, which will somehow stop the crystallization process and also potentially cure the Hulk. Side bonus, 37% chance.
2 miracles for the price of 1, eh, Doc? Sorry, but I quit believing in tooth fairies.
The tooth fairy is a miracle? The Hulk is tearing up the town trying to find Jarella, but also trying to keep his anger in check so he can have as clear a head as possible. This is so he can, search effectively. So at this point, he's just strolling down the street when a trap is sprung. They try to entice him by telling him that Betty is turning into Crystal. No, Betty! When that doesn't work, Doc Samson has them project an image of Betty onto the wall and just yell at him.
Don't you know her, Hulk? That's the image of Betty Ross. The girl you loved is Bruce Banner. The girl you still must love somewhere deep inside.
This works and causes the Hulk to revert back into Bruce Banner.
It worked. By thunder, it worked.
Of course, General. It was all a matter of proper time, psychological discipline. Yeah, projecting the image of a woman that everybody knows he loves onto a wall. Psychology at its finest. Years of training required. Only an expert could have thought of this. And now, for one intense week, tranquilized Bruce Banner is subjected to the latest tools and methods of analysis. So I'm sure they're all super reliable. There are no better results than sedated results. I may not come out of this alive, but it's worth it if there's a chance to save Betty. This is a pretty slow crystallization process. They made it seem like it was imminent. It's been a week. If my theories are correct, the next few minutes may well decide if Betty Ross lives or dies. It is my most fervent belief and hope that she survived.
Filled to the brim with confidence.
The machine will begin to drain off his libidinal energy, his psychic force, if it were. Captain, if I reverse the shield inverters, then we'll just be able to just tech all the tech. So they put Bruce into the chamber to suck up the psychic gamma force, and it works. He starts to transform into the Hulk, but then reverts back. And they take some of that energy, and it stops Betty from turning into a crystal and turns her back into a person. Huzzah! But this issue wasn't called Yay, We Cured the Hulk. No, it was called Meet Samson. Actually, it was called His Name is Samson. Perhaps the nightmare is over, Major, but my research is not. There is much that may be learned from the residues of the Hulk's gamma-ray power. Oh, by the way, you may come out as well, Dr. Banner. And that night, Samson goes rogue, as rogue as the person who decided to trim their hedges during the only time day I had to film. I'm gonna have to go out there. I'll go out there like this. Let's see how they react to that. Strange, what an obsession this experiment is with me in the period of a few short hours. Yes, it is. He's gonna flood himself with a controlled flow of the residual gamma radiation. All my life, I've been just another intellectual, like Banner himself in my own way, despised by emotional men, physical men, like Major Talbot. Is this all because he said that he didn't believe in tooth fairies? You two should have a conversation. Maybe they don't like you because you're condescending and purposely talk down to them all the time. Just a thought, but I mean, I know there's no time for that. It's reckless experiment time. Shouldn't someone be guarding this equipment for just this eventuality? Ooh, look, it worked. Glasses off. Step 1 in a new you fictional transformation. I feel different somehow. I wonder how I look. Priorities. Say now, this is more like it. If my colleagues at the American Psychiatric Association could see me now. 1, he wasn't exactly a slouch before, so this isn't gonna have exactly the impact that he thinks it's going to, except for the bright green hair. That's gonna have an impact. Trust me. 2, they'd probably still just ask you if you were a mad scientist. My physique is nearly the equal of the Hulk's. Is it though? Is it? In fact, because of the controlled nature of the blast, I may even be more powerful. Nice try, Jen. The only thing he doesn't love is the long green hair, which is actually my favorite part. Can you tell? Betty comes to thank him and he instantly starts making a move. That is, unless you were on your way to see Banner. They told me he's sleeping. Good. You'll see him tomorrow then. But tonight belongs to the new improved Leonard Samson. He's talking about himself in the third person, Betty. Don't go to the second location. Banner figures out what's going on just by looking at the new improved Samson. But he's most concerned not about the fact that people can gain his abilities or something similar to them by absorbing radiation, but the fact that Betty must see him now like a 98-pound weakling. Samson meanwhile goes to a local costume shop, yes, a local costume shop, and buys himself a superhero costume. He ponders that he always wanted to be a superhero and now's his chance. And so we get a montage, a him training montage. Thus has it begun and so it goes, because there is really nothing new under the sun or moon. No, you don't get to try that postmodern nihilism on me. You don't get to cover up for the fact that this is derivative by saying, but nothing is new. No, stop that. I see you. Len is kind and gentle, but it's Bruce I love. Bruce. Why doesn't he call me, see me? Why? Why don't you try to see him? Maybe he'd like to feel appreciated, you know, after years on the run as the Hulk. Maybe he'd like to be taken to dinner. Bruce, meanwhile, has just been left to his own devices, to stew in his own juices. Jealousy, all kinds of other feelings are brewing after, you know, being separated from being the Hulk. He really could have used someone to talk to. I don't know, maybe some kind of psychiatrist. If only there was somebody about. You know, someone who wasn't trying to steal his girl. In later days, they will say they should have watched Bruce Banner more closely after the transferal. And they'll be right. Should have known that he might temporarily crack beneath so many strains, so much pressure. Bruce goes to the still unguarded transferal unit and he turns himself right back into the Hulk. Really, you're making me reach hard, issue 141. Samson decides that he's going to go fight the Hulk, which is something that he also implied that he wanted to do earlier on. And so they fight. And they are drawn to be roughly the same size, which I don't know. I really feel that the Hulk should be bigger than him. I'm skeptical, but then again, I'm used to the Hulk being drawn as really, really large, like really monstrous. Samson even starts trash talking him. Excuse me, a lot of this is your fault. Even for the parts that aren't. Why aren't you horrified by the property damage and death that we all know is happening, but we're not allowed to talk about because that would be problematic. Maybe Spider-Man can give some of his misplaced guilt to you. Anything you can do, I can do better. Or at least just as well. And so they stand, locked in a parody of a handshake. Only Samson forgot something. The Hulk gets stronger the angrier he gets. And obviously with this encounter, there's a lot to be angry about. A lot.
You have lost. Hulk has won. Say it.
Betty dramatically runs out into the battle to save Len. This after her whole, I love Bruce, so I don't understand. I don't know, Betty is what she needs to be in these issues. She's very prop-like. I mean, if we go down a few issues, she's gonna marry General Talbot. A failure as a doctor and as Samson. Yes, you are. It doesn't matter, Len. Not to me. It really should. I feel how the plot needs me to. 1970s Betty Ross. And they just leave the Hulk standing there in this now destroyed street, pondering the fact that he thinks he lost something, but he can't remember what. So that was Doc Samson, and boy do they make it an uphill battle to like him at first. He the hero, but then just leaves him stranded with absolutely no support and tries to steal his girl, destabilizing him psychologically to the point that he goes and seeks to become the monster that he was running away from. The whole Samson hair thing and powers tied to his hair, which would be a thing, that's why they named him Samson, but it wouldn't come up until the next issue, and it only comes up because he was testing it himself, because he's super self-absorbed. He doesn't even feel guilty for what he did for years, real time, not comic time. It's a bit less than comic book time. The first time you see him treating the Hulk, like actually trying to with recognizable methods, albeit scientifically jazzed up methods, is in issue 227 in 1978. Until then, the character is there, recognizable, useful at times, and definitely becoming part of the supporting cast. But he's also not the most memorable, appearance aside. He grew over time, but I also would not have been surprised if he had vanished at any point. He can add interesting elements to the mythos, but you gotta work at it. Gotta climb out of the whole I jacked your powers. I like that he has like a prototypical Hot Topic costume though. Just go to the store. What if we took the Flashes or Captain Marvel's lightning bolt and turned it on its side? Yeah. Oof, that hair though. Inspiration, hair goals. This issue made me feel really bad for Bruce. Just no support anywhere from anyone. Rough. So what did you think of the arrival of Doc Samson? Are you a fan? Do you like the whole psychiatrist to the Hulk angle? Should he get a refund on that costume? Do we need to fast forward to his 90s ponytail? For it does exist. No, okay. I'm gonna calm it down. Share all your thoughts down below. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notifications so that you never miss a vid. I'm Sash, and thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to discuss comics with me. I always appreciate it. And I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.